Now let's head to West Africa, where the Nigeria Labour Congress has declared a two-day nationwide protest on 27th and 28th of February. The union, while addressing newsmen in Abuja, said the government has consistently refused to keep to agreements it made with the union, thus the need to protect Nigerian workers.
Conference in Abuja says government has continued to pay lip service to the plight of Nigerian workers.
Now, to discuss this, we are joined by Nelson Ekujimi, a political analyst. Good afternoon, Nelson. Thank you so much for joining me on the news.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Good afternoon. All right, so Nelson, can you tell us what the exact specific demands of the Labour Congress is? And is it likely that the government would actually respond? Because in time past, there have been meetings upon meetings, protests, strikes, but it doesn't seem like the government is actually listening or, finding solutions to some of these issues or challenges.
Well, thank you very much. I think one thing we must always hold very dear to our hearts is that an agreement is a bond between both parties or parties that have signed into it. And with regards to this agreement between Labour and the federal government, we are aware that part of the agreement was the 35,000 naira wage award for 6 months. We're also aware of the release of palliatives in terms of CNG buses and some other, measures that the federal government promised to put in place. As we speak, we know that some of those agreements are being fulfilled, but maybe some are being withheld for reasons best known to either of the parties. But be that as it may, one hopes that in view of the threat to embark on another strike or protest by the Nigerian Labour Congress, that the federal government will swing into action to invite labor, and put the state of things on the table for them to be reasonable to, accommodate whatever shortcomings they are facing presently to implement agreement with. So one expects that the government will do all within its powers to avert these planned protests because Labour has stated the demands that if XY is not met, that they are going to embark on protest. So we expect that the government will still quickly swing into action to invite them to a round table and discuss this issue so that they will be on the same page and the Nigerian people will be the better for it.
All right. Now, can you speak to us on the economic impact of a nationwide protest at this time? Especially in a country like Nigeria, where many people actually rely on daily wages.
Well, the call for a protest or a strike at this point in time will be very, very injurious to the Nigerian people, most especially, as well as the economy, because, like you rightly, identified, a lot of Nigerians live on daily wages, and if workers won't be at work, then it means the economy will suffer, that shortcoming, because transport unions have to take people from point A to point B. People have to open shop to do one business or the other. But when shops are locked, when businesses are closed from the government angle, a lot of supporting business to the government, business will suffer, and the result will be, worsening the economic situation of the average Nigerian. And I believe strongly that the Labour Congress, being a union that is responsible not only to the workers, but to the Nigerian people, because even the worker has a family. The worker does not earn a salary to feed only himself. He has a wife, he has relatives who are doing one thing or the other. So he will not want to embark on any action that will indirectly affect him. So I expect that as the days go by, that those in authorities will call for a meeting with the Labour Congress to avert this threat of shutdown of the economy and the damage to the worsening or to an already depressed economic situation of the Nigerian people.
All right. So as it is now, it does look like, even without the, labor union coming out to say there should be a protest, some states are organizing protests already. We've seen one in Niger State. We've seen one in Kano State. And, some have actually said that they're expecting more from other states. So what precedent do you think that a nationwide protest will set, for actions by other interest groups in Nigeria, considering what Nigeria is actually undergoing and what people are facing at the moment?
Well, while one cannot begrudge people from exercising their rights to protest, I think we have to be very careful because what we are facing at this point in time is a situation that affects every Nigerian, irrespective of status. And that is why Nigerians have to be careful because anti-democratic elements are on the prowl. People who don't wish us good. So I think it behoves on us all to recognize that solutions to the present economic situation is not something we should leave alone or continue to point at accusing fingers at the government. As citizens, we also have roles to play. How can we sit down and dialogue on this issue? Because if you look at the economic situation, holistically and dispassionately, you know that this situation we are in today was foretold. This situation is the reality that has befallen the whole world. We are not immune. So Nigerians must put on their thinking caps and say, come on, how can we mitigate this situation? It's a global phenomenon. So going on protest will not add any value to an already bad situation. Rather, it will worsen it. So it is for us to recognize that as citizens, how can we engage government? That look, government, we have seen a road here. How can we traverse this road? Then those people in government also will look at it and tell us from their own point of view. But if we continue to point accusing fingers like some persons are doing, then I believe strongly that we are not being sincere with ourselves. Because as we speak, the economic situation was not worsened by government. It was an economic reality that confronted us, that government had to take that bold and painful decision. And to take a bold and painful decision comes with a lot of inconveniences, with a lot of economic dislocation. So it is for us and governments at all levels to look to have a dialogue on how to mitigate these challenges and how we citizens can play our part to make it better. Going on protests will not help the situation at all. Though, like I said earlier on, I don't begrudge anybody going on protest. It's part of their fundamental right to expression. But we must be careful if we look behind us in 2020, where some persons went on protest that was called NSAS. And if you look at that protest holistically, it developed into insurrection. It was an attempt, to unseat a legitimately elected government by the Nigerian people by interests who are anti-democratic and who are agents of anarchy and destabilization. So we should be careful whenever we are taking any course of action. We should look at the short-term benefits as well as the long-term effect. If I know going on protest will be, putting, fuel into the fire for people who want things to go, the other way, then I will have to think twice and not, put my country in crisis. I don't think any Nigerian, any sincere and patriotic Nigerian want Nigeria to be in crisis. We want a peaceful Nigeria, even though we are all going through this phase. So together we overcome.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nelson Ekujimi, for joining me and speaking on the state of the nation.
Thank you very much for having me.